Alrighty guys, this is Snugs on Blitz, and I'm back with another video for you today. So, you may have seen my video, the top 5 worst tier 9 tanks. Okay, so it's only fitting that I do a top 5 best tier 9 tanks. Now, will you agree with this list? I don't know. It really depends on your playstyle, and some people just do better in some tanks. I can't explain why. Sometimes you think that they would do well in a certain tank and they do horribly, and yet they do well in another tank. Tier 9 has a lot of great tanks, to be honest with you. It was very hard to choose this top 5, but I'm going to give it a shot, and you can agree with me or disagree with me in the comments. So we're going to watch a T95 game in the background. It's quite entertaining. That speed boost definitely does help it, that's for sure. And I'll count down the top 5 tanks. Coming in at number 5, I'm gonna give it to the E75. Yes, the E100's baby brother, but it is no baby. In fact, it can compete against the E100 quite well because of its improved speed. It doesn't hit quite as hard, but it has a great reload, and it's got, very decent mobility compared to the E100. So don't overlook the E75 on your way to the E100. It's an excellent tank. Coming in at number 4, I'm gonna give it to the 50 TP prototype. Yes, the collectible, first collectible in tier 9 ever. And we got it free in an event. An absolutely lovely tank, mobile, hits hard. And those tungsten shells, yes, that's why I'm gonna give it the edge over the E75. Now, again, you could go with the tech tree version, but for me, I think the collectible is just that much better. Definitely a tank you want to have in your garage. Coming in at number 3, I'm giving it to the K91. Now, this is a tank that I picked up in an auction 2 years ago, and people weren't really talking about it at that time. But when I picked it up, I thought, this tank hits hard. Those 3 shells can rip tanks apart. It's also got decent armor, especially against tier 8. And it's also low to the ground, making it a tough target. But I think its mobility is really what helps it, because after it's fired its 3 shots, it's not that hard to get out of trouble. So you can just, back on up and allow yourself to reload, and you'll be back to ripping teams apart. So yeah, number 3 is the K91. Talking about ripping teams apart, well, we'll move into my number 2 slot, which is the T30. Dang, I never really liked the T34, especially when I first got it, because I had to play tier 10 tanks in it. It was rough going, but it did make me a ton of credits. However, when I picked up the T30, I was like, what is this? I mean, it's essentially the same tank, but it's completely different in the sense that it's so easy to use. The gun hits so hard. You'll have no problem petting most tanks. An absolutely lovely tank, and one that, and tier for tier, I think it's probably better than its tier 10 counterpart, the E4. Yeah, I highly recommend getting the T30. And when it's against tier 8, it rips them apart. So yeah, definitely a tank. If you want to get into tank destroyers, one that I think you should pick up ASAP. But coming in at number 1, I've got to give it to the OBJ 752. This has everything. A gun that hits hard, decent armor, good mobility. Yeah, I mean, it is just a fabulous tank. I paid 12,000 gold for this tank, and I don't regret spending a single coin on it. It is just a lovely, lovely tank. Its reload is a little bit iffy because of those 2 shells. You have to be careful of that, just like the K91 on my list. But to be perfectly honest, guys, you can rearrange these tanks in any order you like. It really just depends on which tanks you click with. Do you gel with one tank over another? Because they're just so dang good. So yeah, get them, play them, have fun with them, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Snugs on Blitz, out.